Hi, welcome back to Poe and Joseph 3. My name is Jasmine.
It's your girl, Linda.
And I'm Kathy, bringing you your weekly dose.
That's the host.
I'm excited.
Me too. So anyways, let's just jump right in.
Okay, let's do it.
I know last week's episode, Jasmine shared her story about her secondaries and how, she was stressing over the writing portion.
The
real struggle of writing, and how she hates writing, and how she's just struggled with her English and with the writing.
It's not that I hate English. I don't hate anything, but it's just like we didn't have a really good foundation, and it's hard.
It's bad. Ugh. I feel like all these schools in the Bay Area,
they need to do better.
It's not that good. I guess if you go to, let's not even say the schools. Anyways, so I can relate. Like Jasmine said, we had the same educational we came from the same education system. I feel like that didn't make sense. Did it make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, I do not like writing. I've always struggled with like English and writing because I want to say as long as I can remember, I was always getting extra help with English, reading, writing, and math. Even when I went to college, undergrad, I think I mentioned this when I basically had to do remedial English, meaning I needed to do some writing because they said when I took the test, it wasn't up to par to their standards and everything.
So actually, Kathy, how do you feel hearing Linda and I complain about our education and our English as someone coming from a different country and struggling with your English?
That is really hard. It was really hard for me.
Do you get not offended, but do you look at me as girl, you lived here all your life and you got the nerve to say that you struggle with English?
Yeah, she's probably been
So
I do, but at the same time, I know what schools you come from, and then that I come from, and I'm like, no, girl, it makes sense. But yeah,
but you do feel a little some type of way about it.
Yeah, especially I'll just tell a quick story. In high school, I took the SAT, and then people that were born here, they would score less than I scored in English. And then they were like, how the hell? And I'm like, yeah, because I have to work my ass off to learn this language. I still don't know everything. Don't get me wrong. I still don't know some words, especially medical words or sophisticated words, I call them, that I just don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I sometimes do get frustrated when they're like, oh, it's so hard. And I'm like, yeah, it's hard for you. Imagine for me. And I feel in an age where, I was young, but not as young where I could just grasp things real quick.
Yeah, you weren't that. You're to the age where it's it's harder because you came here when you were 12?
Yeah, I was about to be 12.
You already consider old
Right.
to be learning new languages and stuff.
Yeah. So it was a struggle.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get a little bit frustrated.
Yeah. Just to add on before we get into the episode, I feel like the reason why and I said this before when Jasmine tried to call me out when we talked about the entrance test.
Oh yeah.
But the reason why you do so well, I feel better than the students that live here is because we're basically being taught broken English in a way, whatever our families or whatever taught us. And with you, it's you actually had to learn the proper way. Just like when I learned to go to take a Spanish class, they're teaching me the formal way of Spanish.
Right.
And that's,
There's a big difference.
There's a big difference. Just like if Jasmine would take a Spanish test, she probably won't do as well. Probably the same with you. If you take a Spanish test, you probably wouldn't do as well as the formal Spanish. Maybe you, because you come from Colombia.
And we actually had to take a Spanish, even though you speak Spanish over there, you have to take a Spanish class.
Yeah, just like you have to take
English.
like we have to take an English class.
Yeah.
We struggle with it.
No, but I totally get what you're saying because I remember, I took French and I was speaking to somebody who was from France and they said something and I was like, what? I've never heard of that. And it was it's basically how you speak at home. You know what I mean? It's slang. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I know we're going all over the place. But even when I went to Colombia, I was telling you, I don't know if I said this in the other episode, but I kid you not, when I went to Mexico, and I've been to Mexico a few times, when I went to even the Dominican Republic, it was so easy for me to catch up, understand what they're saying. For me, if I hear something in Spanish, it's easy for me to, figure out what they're saying. But when I was in Colombia, I was like, what are you even talking about? What language is this? I know it's Spanish. It sounds like Spanish, but I wasn't used to that form of Spanish. And I remember telling Kathy, I was like, you guys speak differently out here. First of all, y'all don't say adios or something. Y'all say ciao. And their stop signs, like in Mexico, Dominican Republic, and everything, stop signs are alto. And in Colombia, it was what, pere or something? Pare. And I was like, it was so different. And I was like, tell your aunt that if y'all spoke regular Spanish,
how
You
funny.
understand better.
How funny.
because they speak it's formal or formal Spanish or
formal.
something. So they like chow. They're the chow type of people.
No, they adios.
Oh, I didn't know
Adios. It's
that.
chow. Yeah.
Okay, ciao.
Yeah, ciao. So anyways, hearing this, let's talk about how it relates to your education and like how you've been this journey throughout just your whole schooling journey from elementary, high school, even now and in nursing school. How does your English affect your learning now? Or is it, if it even had an effect on you?
Oh, it has had an effect.
Okay, let's hear about it then. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. So actually, it was really hard for me because when I came here, I was only like 12. I was about to turn 12. So my English was very, very basic. I just knew the numbers. I knew animals. And I just knew how to say hi.
The basic stuff.
That was it. That was it. Hi and bye. That was it.
Dang.
So I come in like February, which is kind of like in the middle of the school year, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And then it was just different.
Dang.
Everything was different because I came in from like an all-girls school, Catholic school, uniform. Then I got to a public school. Gangs were there. I didn't know what the hell was going on. I didn't know the language. All I knew is that I couldn't wear like blue and red. I could not wear those colors to
Who
school.
told you that?
The people in the school, because I was put into this Spanish class, like where everybody just speaks Spanish, and like I guess English was their second language.
Okay.
And even then, I was even behind because they had already been put into like their English classes, and I had just come in. So I went into public school, and I didn't know how to speak the language. I didn't know how to dress. I didn't know about brands. That wasn't something that I was aware of.
So did that have an effect on you?
Oh, yeah, because I got bullied.
Oh yeah, she was a complete outsider.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because my parents they had to buy from like Payless and like
I was at
Diddy's.
Payless with
And-
my little shoes.
So was I.
Yeah, and
My
but then,
Skechers.
but then I would see like people with Nikes and Jordans, and then I remember I would like get bullied about like how I dress, and I would like go home
Yeah.
and I would cry because I hated it. I didn't want to be here because even though like I was in the same like cognitive level as they were, the only difference is that I didn't know the language, but I was smart, like, so I was just being judged because I couldn't afford Jordans or I couldn't afford Nikes.
Or you couldn't speak like them.
And then Payless had like this Jordan, like fake Jordans.
Was it the N ones?
Yes. And then I remember I would like cry to my parents because I was like, yeah, they're making fun because I don't have these shoes. And then so my dad worked hard and he went to get it at Payless without not knowing that they were not there. Yeah.
Oh my
So
god.
then the next day I went into school with like this cute outfit, but it was weird because he was like, it wasn't a new outfit. It was like the clothes that my cousin couldn't fit.
It was new to you though. Yeah.
So I felt like I felt special.
Yeah.
Oh.
But when I came to school, like people were laughing because they were like, those are not Jordans. Like those are like from Payless. What are you talking about? And I was like, it was what they could afford.
Yeah.
So it was hard because I keep like I have to prove myself all the time that I'm like cognitively in the same place as everybody else. So it was just like the clothes, and then I wasn't used to like I have to wear like different type of clothes every day because in Colombia I was wearing uniforms.
Yep.
So I was just like I don't
It was just a lot of change to all at once.
Yeah.
So
It's
I'm
a
sure.
whole culture shock.
Yeah.
And then like I remember my dad, he got me like a little translator It was
I'm
like
sorry, but your dad is so cute.
I'm thinking the same thing.
yeah, because so the reason why we came here was because we were in danger in Colombia, and we weren't like economically stable over there. So they brought us here for like a better future. And I get it, but I didn't want to be here. I just didn't want to be here because it put me away from all my family, like the family that I was close to, the family that I grew up with. And now I have to come here, meet this new family that I only see when they go visit.
Yeah, like once a year at that.
Right. So, and then now I have to get this new like language and this new culture because culturally it's totally different. So
That was a lot. Like a lot on you. It's like not only did you have to learn the language, like, but like you said, you had to like kind of adapt to like a whole different culture. Like you left everything back home in Colombia and literally had to do a complete shift because it's like, yes, learning English is difficult, but then you had a whole bunch of other stuff to worry about at the same time.
yeah, and then like the only reason why I kind of like put up with it was for my parents because I know they made like a huge sacrifice to come here because they were accountants over there. And then now here they had to come and scrape floors and do janitorial services, which I don't look down upon that, but it must be hard if it was hard for them.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
They probably struggled too.
Yeah, and they didn't know the language either.
And it was probably really hard for them to see you struggle too, you know?
So that's why I was like, okay, he's like, I know he's trying to make me feel comfortable in this new country, but I hated it. So because I was like, I just got tired of everybody just bullying me because obviously, like, yeah, you could cuss me out in Spanish, I will cuss you back out. But when you tell me that stuff in English, I don't understand.
Yeah,
so I can't,
that's hard.
I wouldn't know what to say or what they were saying, you know?
See.
Or like, knew that they were laughing and pointing.
Yeah, kids
So
are
I knew
evil.
it was
Yeah,
the-
no, they
kids are so mean.
are.
So I
Yeah.
can only imagine like what you went through.
Yeah. So then my dad got me like a little translating thing for me to be able to translate because at this point half of the year in and I need to catch up. And I'm like learning this new history about the United States that I don't know.
She's like, and I don't care.
Yeah, honestly, you can say
Yeah.
because I really
And
didn't
then
care.
it was like, oh, you have a test. And I'm like, oh my God, I have a test. Like, how do I prepare for it? Like, it was just, I remember that first year, it was just a blur because I'm like, I don't know. And then there was a translating lady that she will walk with me for the first months. But after that, she's like, you're on your own.
Oh.
And I was
Sink or
like,
swim, sink and swim.
yeah. And I'm like, what, lady? Like,
She's like, float.
yeah. So, also, I bought myself a dictionary. So I would always carry around a dictionary and my translator because I needed to figure out what was going on. And then it was hard because they would put me into like these English classes for like the non-speaker English. And I would just feel so frustrated because people will be like, oh, look, there she goes. Like, she doesn't know how to speak. And then it was really frustrating. And I think that's when I began to like act up. And I start like getting into fights because I'm like, I feel like if I can't defend it with my words,
you
then-
have to defend yourself
Yes.
in some way, and that was the way that you could.
yeah. And then I feel like that's where like I found out that like I always knew I had like anger issues, but they flare up even more.
That's where she found out she was a pro boxer. Sorry.
And then like I got into this fight. And then I felt so bad because they called my dad. But then my dad knew that he was coming because I just keep getting like bullied and I wouldn't do nothing. I would just like go home and cry. And because I didn't want to get in trouble because I'm like, they came here from a whole nother thing and I don't want to bring more problems to them. So when I got suspended, I had to call my dad and I had to let him know like, hey, somebody has to come pick me up. And I know they were at work.
How did you feel making
So
that phone call?
I felt horrible because I felt like I let him down. But at the same time, he said, I knew this was going to come because they're not doing anything on their end to like help the situation.
And they spoke to like faculty and staff about.
Yes, they talked to the dean, but the issue was that the dean's niece, like it was the one that was bullying me. So they really couldn't, like they were
weren't gonna
doing,
really do
but not
anything.
really
So
doing.
Kathy had to take it matters into her own hands.
Yeah, and then I lost my like I lost it. Like, it was bad, but that's because also, like, she knew where to press my buttons. Like, she will talk about my grandfather, and that's like, my grandpa was like my dad figure. So like, she like, right when she started talking about it, I lost it.
Yeah.
And
that
then
makes
I had to
sense.
call my dad, and I apologized to my dad. I was like, I'm so sorry. I know, like, this is not what we came here for, but I got suspended, like, blah, blah, blah. And then, like, I had to stay the whole time in detention, and then my dad had to come pick me up later. And then, yeah, so that was one. Like, so then after that, my parents made, like, this huge sacrifice on putting me through Catholic school. But then again, I would just give, like, my accent became, like, an issue. And then, like, I knew the content. Like, math was easy for me.
Like,
Because
just numbers.
it was numbers. So I was like, I don't have to read. I don't have to write. This is easy. Science was easy as well, in a way. I don't know, it just came. And then I also began to look, like, at Atlas. Like, those big books are like encyclopedias.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's how I learned, like, also English on my own. Like, I began to look at them in my free time.
Did you do all of that because did you being bullied and everything, like, force you to want to learn the language even more? Because as a 12-year-old, I'm like, I don't know if I would have done it on my own. Like, got maybe an English dictionary or
Like, you didn't
Spanish
have,
dictionary
like, you didn't have that drive.
to, like, teach myself. So did you feel like that you forced yourself to learn English even more so you can, like, fit in more? Because I still know parents and some people who still don't know, like, English to this day, and they've been here for a
I
long,
felt
long
like I
time.
did it because of my parents, because they
Okay.
didn't know the language either. And they
so
didn't
you
have to know
had
the
to.
language. And I'm the oldest. So
Mhm.
I'm like, I need to help them. And then also in the house that we were living in, things were getting tense when they were like start speaking English.
Oh.
So I'm like, I need to know what they're saying.
They're saying, yeah.
Because now I know it's about us. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So I was like, I need to
It was like
learn.
your way to defend yourself and your family.
Yeah. So I was like, I need to learn the language. I need to learn the language. So I began to look like at Atlas, and then I began to look like at TV. Like, I would put the movies in English, and I would read it in Spanish, and then that's how I would like learn it and learn
okay.
it. So and then I just started reading. So
Okay.
that's how it started for me. Like, I began to learn the language that way, because the middle school that they put me through, it was Catholic. They were paying for it, but I wasn't getting the education that I
Oh, we
needed.
got you. We got
know what
you.
I mean?
No, yeah, we know.
So I needed to put myself through it.
Right.
So then I got into like in middle school, I got kind of bullied as well because of my accent. And that's when I began to hate my accent, because I'm like, okay, now I speak the language a little bit, but now they're making fun of me because I can't pronounce something. And so I come from like somewhere that I was being bullied, now to another school that I'm being bullied. And I'm just like,
Yeah, it's always something. Like, you don't get a break. Like, the first, your elementary school, you're getting bullied because you didn't speak English. Now that you speak English, it's like you're getting bullied because of your accent. Now,
Was there a turning point where you started to feel different, or do you still kind of still struggle with like your accent now?
no, now I still struggle with it. And you guys know, like, I hated it. I hate my accent, but people are like, embrace your accent. And I'm like,
You should.
lot of
I
people
think it
actually
makes
like
you
it.
unique.
Yeah.
And I like it makes you unique. I think I love like when we all have our little quirks and stuff. And I think it makes us who we are.
yeah, but I feel like because I have so much
History.
history with it,
that
that I'm
made you
just
not
like,
want
yeah,
like it.
yeah. And
But I also think, like, not that I don't condone bullying, but I think we all go through life experiences. We all have different life experiences. And I think everything you went through, Kathy, it made you strong. Like, it made you a fighter. Like, you probably wouldn't have studied as hard had you
for
not.
sure.
You know? You probably would not have studied
For
as
sure
hard. And it didn't just make her a fighter in studying, it made her a fighter. No, I'm just kidding.
With those hands.
No, just kidding. No, but it made you a fighter, and it probably gave you even the tools for nursing school. Like, how you fought for your English is how you're going to fight for your degree for nursing school. Like,
Speaking of that, so how has that how has it been now for you as an adult and you just being in a graduate program? Like, do you still feel like your English and your just speaking English, writing, reading English, do you feel like it's still hard for you to...
Oh, like she still struggles.
Yeah. Do you still struggle?
So let's say when I'm having a conversation, I'm not nervous. So I talk normally, fluently, I think.
Yeah,
But-
you'd be participating in class, everything.
Yes. But when I do get nervous, my accent gets thicker.
Uh-huh.
And then
That's
people
normal.
like
It's okay.
don't really understand, and I'm like, "Ah, no, that's not what I want to say. I want to say this," and they're like, "This," and I'm like, "Yeah, that." And then so yeah, but then I feel like in the grad program that I'm in right now, I feel comfortable in a way because even in my study group, when I'm like, "Whoa, blah 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 blah," is this? They're like, "You meant this," and I'm like, "Yeah, that," and then they're like, "But we're all adults and we're
they're
very
not making
like."
fun of you.
Yeah, they're like gentle with it. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So
They're adults and they
Yes.
they have a level headed, so
Yes.
they're not over there making fun of you.
and then they don't look at me like, oh yeah, like she doesn't know the language, so she's dumb.
Mhm.
Because I feel like that has always been like my struggle. Like I have to prove that to them that I'm not dumb.
Mhm.
But now that I'm in a master's program, they're like, no, like you
know
know
what you're
your
saying.
stuff, even if you can't like articulate it, you know it.
In the beginning, when you first started, and I know you were struggling a little bit, like with adjusting to like nursing school. In the beginning, when you didn't know your stuff, did your accent make you feel more like what's the word? Like where you doubted yourself, or where you felt like people were judging you?
No, my accent, my grades. Like that's where because sometimes also some medical words, you guys know it's hard.
Yeah,
they're hard for me.
So-
Yeah.
They those medical words hard for a lot of people.
Or even like articles. Like right now, I was telling Linda, I'm taking literature. Those articles are very, very dense.
Oh yeah.
And then even people that have like degrees in like English degrees in my cohort, they're like they have to reread it twice.
Yeah,
And I'm
it's
just
hard.
like, and then I get a little bit frustrated because I'm like, okay, Catherine, you could do it. Just read it, because I usually have to read out loud for it to like stick. So I was like, okay, you could do it. So I have to reread it. Okay, so I reread it, and I'm like, wait, but what is this word? And I'm like, oh. So I have to like Google what the word is, and then but it's kind of like stuff that I used to get frustrated with, but a teacher in high school told me like, it's okay, you have to look up words, but that's how you're gonna use them later on. Like you're gonna learn and use them a certain way later on. People probably won't know.
Okay, so it sounds like now in this master's program, like you got this. You're comfortable. You have justice.
Confident.
But when did you get to this point? Like, was it in undergrad? Was it in high school where you felt like your
Like the turning
English and
point?
everything is not affecting you? Yeah, the turning point, like the turning point of you not like overthinking or not thinking you're incapable or not at the levels of like your peers.
I think my turning point was when I got into like the nursing degree, into the master's program, because we had to take a HESI, right? As you guys know.
a week to
Yes,
study.
and we got a week to study. And then because it's just, I don't know if it's in my head, but it's just, I always go into a room and I'm just already ready for like the negative, you know?
You're not alone. It's imposter syndrome. We all deal with it. Yeah.
So it's just kind of like, I'm already like ready for the negative. But the fact that when I took the HESI, I did very well. And I'm like, okay, so maybe like I'm not as dumb as I think people think I am. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, that proved it. I'm like, okay, I got into this program. Okay. And then, so I think that's when I got like comfortable with, even though sometimes I do feel uncomfortable in the program, but it's not like
Here and there,
yes,
not like
but it's-
not consistent.
but not all. Because I know I'm not being bullied. I know like the majority of the words now. I know how to like use them. Even though sometimes I'm put into situations like, especially, I guess when I feel most uncomfortable is when I'm in clinicals, because now I have to deal with patients. And then patients, as you guys know, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. So sometimes I have to hear the comment like, go back to your country, speak my
Stupid
language.
people, honestly.
Yeah. So then that's when I'm like, okay. So when I hear these comments,
it takes you back to the
yeah. So then I just get out of that situation. I go to the bathroom and I'm like, it's okay. They don't mean it. Like, So stuff like that.
Yeah, I had to
That I have
talk
to talk
yourself.
myself to like, it's okay, they don't mean it, or they have issues, or no. So it's just that sometimes I have to just like
You've learned to cope and how to
To
find
work with
positive
it.
ways to keep moving forward. That's good.
Yeah. But you see how it's crazy how other people's like viewpoints of you or what they say can just like change just your whole mindset of how you feel about yourself or how you think about yourself. Is like all the trauma and all like the bullying and negative things that was said to you as a young adult or as a child, how like it continue or it affects you like later in life. Like it's crazy because with me, like though like English is my first language and everything, and I didn't have to move to another country. But then like even growing up within like my family, so my cousins all like went to public schools and everything. As I started looking in, I felt like they were having more fun at the public school. Like I wanted to go to the public school. I'm like, they have play structures. They have get lunches from the cafeteria. At the private schools that we went to, like
Our books were falling apart.
It was falling apart. We didn't have play structures. We just had like an open field. We didn't have a cafeteria that sold food. So I wanted to go to public school, but I said this to say that. I mixed that up. But my cousins and them used to like make fun of like my sister and I and be like, oh, you guys speak too proper. Like you, bro. I was like, you guys talk like you're white. And they realized I didn't really have like a bunch of white friends. So I think they made like a comment like, oh, well, you're a little Mexican or something like stupid stuff like that. Basically saying a bunch of negative stuff, saying like, oh, you guys talk way too proper. But then in school, they would tell us like, oh, your English is not
good enough.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So you never felt good enough anywhere.
Yep.
That's terrible.
It's like,
and then I feel like also what make it worse, because I think you said that you had to take like remediation English, and I would be too. I would have to be like pull out from the classroom, and we would go with this lady for like these English classes.
Yep.
Oh,
yes.
I remember that.
So I feel like we were always like the odd ducks, like I didn't put in quotation marks because like I know for me in middle school, I always had to be pull out, and then she will have to like talk to me and like make me read English and everything. In college, again, I had to do remediation. So again, the odd dog. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's like,
so
too dumb for school, but too smart for my family.
Yeah.
I was like, that's how I felt. So, like, that's why I even find myself in school. Like, I struggle. Like, damn, I am dumb. Like, I'm dumb. But, so it's crazy how, like, other people's viewpoints, like, how, basically how I'm saying, like, how it
shapes
affects
you.
It
shapes you.
Yeah, especially also in with my family, like in Colombia, they're like, oh, your English is so proper. And I'm like, no, it's not. Like, no. Like, because I always, like,
Was there ever a point where you were like, oh, they think my English is good?
No.
It's probably more like they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, because it was more like, no, I need to learn. I need to do better. Like, I always have pushed myself, I guess because that comes with like being a big sister, that I always have to be like, I need to learn more. I need to do better. Because I also had to take care of my brother when my parents were working. So I was just like, I need to do better. I need to do better. I need to learn more. I need to, like keep pushing myself.
Well, Kathy, I'm really proud of you. I mean, I think hearing like everything you've been through, it gave me like even more respect for you, knowing like everything you've overcome. And don't ever let anyone make you feel that you're not good enough, because you are.
Thanks.
You're more than good enough.
Thank you, guys. But yeah, so if somebody's out there that their English is not their first language, just keep fighting. Keep trying to. Well, for me, reading was like my escape. And then because, you get really into the books and you're also learning. So if you don't know the language, start reading, start watching movies with subtitles, and you will understand the language better. And then just keep fighting. Even if they tell you, oh, you're not good enough, you're not going to make it, use that to work harder. And then you will get where you want to be.
Yeah.
Hold it. Let's pause right here. Stay tuned for part 2. Thanks so much for listening. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at @a_potent_dose_of_3 and follow us on IG is Instagram.
Yeah.
And email us at @potentoseof3@gmail.com. I did have my coffee, but it's just one of those days.
Just one of them days.
Like it's every day.
Jasmine's been messing
Oh, really?
up.
It's every day. Okay, Kathy. Okay.
Every time we record. Just one of them days.